Blue Beetle was amazing. I was so pumped for this movie. Blue Beetle has been one of my favorite DC characters for a few years, and when I heard he was getting his own movie, I was super excited. Zola was casted perfectly for Jaime Reyes. I know origin stories have been done so many times in superhero movies, but I think it was done really well in this one. The family aspect in this movie was amazing. Being part Mexican myself, I love seeing the representation and how rich in culture this movie was. The casting in this movie was really good, and I think everybody played their characters really well. I was worried about George Lopez because I really didn't like how he looked, but his character was still pretty funny. I was kind of confused why they decided to age up Jaime Reyes' sister, but it didn't bug me too much. His dad looked like he was literally ripped right out of the comic book. I mean, he looked picture perfect. Nana was my favorite family character. She was badass and just overall awesome. This movie has a ton of heart and surprisingly some really emotional scenes. I loved how much detail we got about the Scarab and also the past Blue Beetles. They talked about Dan Garrett and Ted Kord, and I love seeing their classic suits. Even if they were just on the mannequins, they looked really good. I also really like seeing Blue Beetle's bug ship. I mean, that thing looked straight out of the comic book. It was great. And that scene with it was not only super funny, but just all around just a blast. I also found it really funny when they're in Ted's cave and Jaime was looking at all of his gear and he said it looked like as if Batman made it with ADHD. This movie had a lot of good comedy and not that annoying cheesy comedy, but it had a lot of jokes that really did work. I think there was probably only one maybe cheesy joke in the whole movie. The Blue Beetle suit looked amazing and is probably one of the best live action adaptation suits we've ever gotten. And the mix between the CGI and his practical suit was really good. Speaking of CGI, it was really good in this. The only thing I didn't really like was his helmet HUD. I wasn't too big of a fan of how it looked, but other than that, the CGI was on point. The action scenes in this were amazing, and I loved how he was able to change his gear and switch through all those different weapons. It was so fun to see. We seriously got some dope action scenes, and Blue Beetle kicked some serious ass in this. While this movie doesn't have the best villain in Victoria Kord, that's not a problem at all. She might be there to get in his way, but this movie is all about family and the struggles he goes through and the hurdles he must overcome. Conrad was a pretty decent villain as well. I did like how sinister his voice was, and his OMAC costume was badass, and he was pretty cool in those action scenes. I will say I'm kind of bummed that we never got to see Ted Kord at all. I mean, they mentioned him a ton of times, but we never get to see his face. I really hope Jason Sudeikis gets casted him because he would be perfect casting. This is one of my favorite superhero movies of the year, and this is why I give Blue Beetle a 9 out of 10. If you guys like this review, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more, hit that follow button. And as always, thanks for watching.